Hello everyone from wherever you're tuned in from around the world, and welcome to the second episode of the Vuyo Joboda show right here on VN, where I get to sit down with inspiring leaders from all around the world who have amazing and interesting stories to share with us. And today is like no other day, where we are sitting down with entrepreneur, philanthropist and international filmmaker all the way from the USA. He is Samad Davis, but let me show you exactly what you can expect on this episode. Check this out. Take us through 5-year-old Samad, 10-year-old Samad. What was he like?
I remember being in second grade and having fights before the bell rang to start school. You have to keep turning those pages in your book of life, and I believe in that. And you have to find what fits, what feels right. So for me, just because I think as an entrepreneur, for me, I can't use filmmaker.
And I've got the man of the moment. I call him the king of Joburg, but he says no. Samad Samanga Davis. Am I putting the right word in there?
I'll take it.
How are you doing, Samad?
I'm great. And you?
I'm good. I'm happy
to
have you here. Last time I saw you was in Atlanta.
Yes.
About 2 years ago.
Yes.
Oh man, and now we are in Joburg, the city that I say you're a king in. You won't take that.
I won't take that.
But listen, we are so happy to have you on the show, Samad. I mean, your story, your journey has been so inspiring. You're definitely one of the people that we had to have on the show. But I want us to take it back all the way to New Jersey.
Gosh.
All the way to New Jersey, which is where it all started. Take us through 5-year-old Samad, 10-year-old Samad. What was he like?
He's the same guy. Very adventurous.
Yeah.
Always got in trouble.
Ooh.
From being curious. I had a good childhood, actually.
Yeah.
I grew up in the equivalent of Yeovil in South Africa,
okay.
in Joburg.
Yes.
My hood from North New Jersey felt more like Yeovil.
Yes.
But as dangerous as it might have been, it still was our hood. I knew everybody, and I had an opportunity to go off and explore and get in trouble and ride bikes and get into fights and get chased and everything in between, you know?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate these days you don't really have adventurous childhoods anymore, you know? But I grew up in North New Jersey, which is a very historical city in America. The first international airport was North New Jersey in the country.
Yeah.
We have a seaport, railroad, and airport, which makes us a very uniquely positioned for that part. You know,
yes.
So all the imports around the world come into North New Jersey. That supplies New York and supplies that whole region.
Yes.
But just always been a very curious and adventurous kid.
I like that you mentioned curiosity, because I think that's going to be the driving force of this entire conversation, because the curiosity is what I think you're always finding in, because you're in different industries.
Yes.
Is that what you say was the contributing factor to you now exploring?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay.
Okay, so that plays a big part.
Okay.
And the Sagittarius are known to be explorers and travelers. And I think I fall right in line with that, for sure. But yeah, just growing up, just always trying. Life is about chapters. You have to keep turning those pages in your book of life. And I believe in that. And you have to find what fits, what feels right. You know, as you put time and energy into things, what are those things that feel right for you? What are those things that you can make money from, but you would do it for free because it's that exciting to you. You have a passion for it. And that's what you spend your time trying to find where that fit is.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of that journey. And I just, once I realized that, hey, sometimes we kick ourselves and we might say, oh, I wish I knew this at this time, or I wish I didn't make this mistake, or I wish I went in this direction, my life would be different. But all of those are stepping stones to get to where you are now.
Yeah.
And if you take any of those moments or mistakes, trials, tribulations out, you might not be where you are now.
Yeah. What would you say, growing up in Jersey, was some of the lessons that, from that curiosity and being a curious child, that you took that you're now constantly reapplying?
Well, you see, here's what I would tell you. It gave me a certain level of resilience.
Yeah.
Because literally, back then it was a dangerous place to grow up in. They dropped drugs on us in the 80s, crack cocaine, heroin, all that stuff. So all our communities were ravaged with drugs and violence. And you know, I remember being in second grade and having fights before the bell rang to start school. Lunchtime, I might get jumped, or I might have to have a fight. And so it was just all these different things that you had to go through and navigate on your way to school, on your way home from school. You're riding your bike, you have people coming to steal your bikes and rob you for your bikes. All these different things. I know it sounds dangerous and crazy. However, it gives you a certain IQ, a certain level of street smarts.
Yeah.
So even to today, as I navigate the world, I still can see things through my peripheral. I still know how to deal with people. I know how to handle myself because I grew up in an environment where that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you learn people because you're dealing with people, right? And I think, life is about people. Business is about people as well. Because every day we are engaging with people and their energy and how to position that, navigate that, work around it. Right? And so these are things that you learn just growing up in an era that was dangerous, yes, but in an era where I still had opportunities to explore. So I grew up with my siblings plus my cousins, my first cousin. We all lived in a multi-family home. So my first cousins were like my siblings as well. So we had a large family and we just got into stuff and learned a lot along the way.
Sounds like a colorful childhood.
It was. I mean, I actually feel sad that, these days, in this day and time, you can't really have the same kind of childhood anywhere, whether it be South Africa, whether it be in the U.S. It's too dangerous, so you kind of shelter your kids.
Yeah.
You can't just let them go the way we were able to be let go, because the gun violence is different now. You see?
Yeah, yeah.
So I respect and appreciate that era of time that I grew up in, and I can see how it affects my life on a daily basis to this day.
To this day. And you mentioned that Newark.
Newark. Newark.
So it had the first international airport, right?
Yes.
And now getting to see how you yourself as Samad are a global citizen, are an international traveling.
I'm a Pan-African.
Yes. Would you say that also played a factor into that, or was that just coincidence?
No, it's not coincidence. I will say my grandmother, my father's mother, she exposed me to travel.
Okay.
She used to take me when she retired. She was you ever seen the movie Hidden Figures?
Yes.
My grandmother was one of those ladies who was a mathematician, mathematical genius.
Yes.
And they used to utilize women like her they called them computers. So NASA, they would work for the space program. They would run the calculations on how the distance between Earth and the moon to get the rockets up. So, but when she retired, she used to run with her niece, my Aunt Betty, who had a beauty salon and who was in the beauty business, and they used to go all these conventions. And she used to travel. She used to bring me with. She would bring my oldest cousin, who was a female, Monica, and she would bring me, the baby of all the grandkids.
Oh.
So I used to go to Chicago, Texas, Virginia, Maryland, you name it, D.C., Georgia. So she was the one that exposed me to travel. And then my father, who's a lawyer, he's traveled the world, and he's traveled Africa. And then I have an uncle who used to work for the U.S. government, who his job in the government was to establish trade, work between trade deals between developing nations in Africa and the U.S. government. So he's been to Africa 300-something times. Every head of state came through his office in New York. So my first time coming to Africa 15 years ago was with my father and that uncle. and I was able to go to 6 countries over the course of 45 days, and we were hosted by the heads of state of each country. So my introduction into Africa was on another level.
Yeah.
And being African American, as they call us in America, that was an eye-opening experience because we typically had no relationship. African Americans had no real relationship with Africa, besides because we couldn't really trace ourselves back anywhere further than the South, where slaves were dropped off and then sold off into plantations. So if we wanted to trace back, we would stop somewhere in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi. That's where it gets cut off.
Cuts off, yeah.
Yeah. So and then all the content that they would show us in America of Africa would be Tarzan, HIV, some drug lord, a warlord, some dictator, genocide, HIV, starving kids. That's what they would show us on TV.
Yeah.
So the average African American had no real desire to interact or think about going to Africa,
Makes
right?
sense. Yes, yes.
So you can imagine when I first went to Africa, I said, wow, that's it's totally different than what
we are told.
What we were told.
Yeah.
So I went to Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Benin,
Okay.
Ghana, Nigeria.
Okay.
Did I miss? Is that 6?
That's 6, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And becoming a serial entrepreneur and that, when did you bump into entrepreneurship or get introduced to entrepreneurship?
Well, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mother's father was an entrepreneur. I had entrepreneurs on my father's side. My father's a lawyer, but he's an entrepreneur. He always had his own law firm.
Okay.
I grew up in his law firm. I never actually had a regular job. I've always somehow worked for myself. So I've never been employed as an employee in my life. However, I might have my company and my contract with a company for certain projects or what business-wise, but it's still my company having to deal with another company.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, so I've always been an entrepreneur. It's just in my blood. It's the way I'm wired. It's the way I think. I think from a business perspective first and foremost. I used to, I'm a licensed barber. Yeah, go figure. The barbershop played a huge role in my life.
Okay.
A huge role in my life. Barbershop has me here today, if we're not for the barbershop. Because the barbershop, I used to rent my chair, pay a certain amount of money per week at this barbershop.
Okay.
To utilize their chair. And I had my own clientele.
Yes.
I had a lot of clientele. And one of my customers was, I tell the story all the time. One of my customers was an older gentleman, Mr. Earl. He used to wear these overalls with the paint and all the dust on it, right?
Yeah.
Because he was in construction.
Okay.
And he would always tell me about real estate and real estate and real estate. And one day I said, well, I want to know more about it, and maybe you can mentor me into getting into real estate, which he did. And then he put me in touch with another guy that he worked with, and they sold me my first piece of property, which was a property that needed to be redeveloped.
Yes.
It was abandoned for a long time.
Okay.
He gave it to me for $2,500, and I put maybe another $2,000 in cleaning it out, gutting it out, make sure all the junk was out of there, and I sold it to somebody else for $30,000. I was like, okay, this is 1995.
Wow.
96, 95.
Yes.
And then I just kept going from there. And so I did more and more of that stuff, and then that ultimately allowed me to enter the food industry. I had a restaurant. I had my own barbershop. I moved from renting my chair to my own barbershop.
Okay.
Okay. And from my own barbershop, I also opened up a restaurant.
With the real estate while also moving.
Real estate is something I'm still involved to this day.
Yes.
Real estate is not, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I think it's something that should be part of your portfolio of things that you do. Okay? So I've never got out of real estate.
Okay.
I'm still in real estate.
So the barbershop.
But the barbershop on one end of the avenue, at the bottom of the avenue, and the restaurant at the top of the avenue.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So all my clients know, go support the restaurant, you know, all that
After
stuff.
cutting their hair, they go eat.
Now, my mother's from Harlem,
Yes. Okay.
and my mother's side of the family's from New York City.
Okay.
So every holiday, we'll we'll split the day. We'll do half the day in New Jersey, half the day in the city, right? So my thinking was, because my restaurant is very successful, if I can make it here, I can make it in New York City too. So then I opened up one in Harlem, USA.
Yeah.
And I said, if that's successful, then I can franchise it, okay? Now the one in New Jersey was very successful. I had a manager running that restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's the one who went to film school. He resigned because he was going to film school. So 18 months later, I'm still running these restaurants and the barbershop and my real estate, but I'm not happy. Barbershop brought me joy because everybody loves their barber.
Yeah.
You know everybody. Barbershop was fun. But the restaurant started to take me away from the barbershop, real estate as well. Okay? And so the New York restaurant was 3 times the overhead, 3 times everything.
Yeah.
And now I was not happy doing that. I was getting parking tickets every day, the tolls, the traffic to get into the city. I just felt like I was becoming a slave to the restaurant.
Yeah.
And then I started pulling from the successful restaurant to help feed the bigger restaurant, because Harlem, USA is now gentrified, is now redeveloped, but back then it was not.
Yeah.
So it was only 125th Street. After 125th Street, the back blocks were still abandoned brownstones that never recovered from the 70s and the 80s from the heroin and the crack. But now you can't afford a brownstone in Harlem.
Yes, yes.
But at that time, there was not enough traffic to sustain that restaurant. And so I just felt like I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. And then I ran into the guy who managed my restaurant 18 months prior at the post office one morning. He said it was the best experience. You should try it out. I was looking for a new chapter because I just was not happy. The thing that brought me happiness, I moved away from because I was handling all this other stuff. And so, and I was always creative, but I knew nothing about the rules of being
a creator.
creative.
Yes, yes.
So there was no cell phones back then where I could just Google it on my phone.
Yeah.
I actually had to go home and call the number, and they told me to come in the next day and take a look.
That's film school now.
This is film school,
Okay.
film, video, and arts in Manhattan. I go to film, video, and arts the next day. I like it. They gave me the tour. I was like, wow. I was the only black kid in there. And I signed up. And I said, I'm going to learn everything about this because it was fascinating. And I did. From writing to directing to producing to editing to just the whole value chain.
Yes.
I needed to understand. And so what happened was in the end, they give you a bunch of equipment for your thesis. They give you a bunch of equipment for a week. All your lights, your sound equipment, your film cameras. This is before digital cameras, by the way. This is film cameras, 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter cameras.
Yeah.
So they gave me, this at the time was 16 millimeter. They gave me all of this equipment to go back to my hood in Newark, New Jersey, and make my thesis. And at that time, no one ever saw film equipment in my city, or anybody making a movie.
Yes.
So I was able to galvanize the community to get behind me and help me make this project. And I mean, I had everybody from people's mothers and aunts cooking the food for the crew to people donating cars, so it was a good thing.
Yeah.
And I finished that project. I was actually the only one in my cohort, in my class, to finish their project. Everybody else had a story.
Of why they did it.
This happened, that happened, the dog ate my homework. No one else finished but me. I was the only one that finished.
And you still had all the other businesses also kind of...
But I'm just saying, because as an entrepreneur, you have to be a producer. And a producer is just someone who can see something from beginning to end. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't just mean just for film and TV. Well, if I'm doing real estate, whether I'm doing barbershop or business or whatever the case may be, I still have to take an idea and get it to the finish line. So that's a skill set that transfers to any sector. So now if I'm in film and TV, I've just learned the rules of engagement. I'm going to apply that same work ethic and that same skill set to
this industry.
To that industry.
Yes.
That's
yes.
why I was the only one that finished. You see?
Ah.
So when I put the project out, I ended up putting the project out. I started selling it to the bootleggers. People who, this is back with VHS. You ever heard of VHS tapes?
Yes, yes.
This is before DVDs, which DVDs are obsolete now, but this is before DVDs. This is VHS tapes. So I packaged this project up and I would sell it to the mom and pop record shops. I would sell it to the people who would bootleg, but I would sell them original. And they would support me because I'm selling it to them cheap enough. They can still make their profit. I still make my money. Everybody's happy.
You're distributing.
I did that. And then I said, wait a minute, this is a whole model here.
Yes.
So I started doing another project and another project, another project. And I built a network from New York to LA of mom and pop record shops and different people that I can supply to for different projects I would do.
Yeah.
And ultimately I did one film that kind of crosses over into the Hollywood space. It became a cult classic and it was embraced by hip hop and just pop culture. And I still was able to I was able to utilize my mom and pop distribution network, but also got a deal for it that allowed me to put it in the Walmarts of the world, and it gave me a global, not a global footprint, but a nationwide footprint.
Yes, yes.
And that introduced me into the Hollywood system, but I never actually. So I've been in the game about 24 years.
Yeah.
However, on my terms, as an entrepreneur, not from a creative trying to make it in Hollywood.
Yes.
So I never really played that game. I've always maintained entrepreneurship in my entire career.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying about the skill, and then reapplying that skill within the different industries. If you're to look at the overall broader, the different types of industries that you get to tap into, which one would you say stands out the most or has taught you the most valuable lessons?
No, I don't know if it's an industry that taught me the most valuable lesson. I think I'm in the people's business, which is also just like the skill set I told you about, producing skill set, that is transferable because I'm in the people's business. In the people business, you can plug into any sector as long as you take it serious and you know what you're doing in that sector. But once you understand you're in the people's business, because that's what you're doing, negotiating people every day and energy every day. Once you understand that, the lessons come from human interaction. You know, you
Which
might
vary
have
from different people.
Yeah. You might have a certain. I used to get upset sometimes when people would disappoint because I expect people to move or have certain level of integrity that I might have, and then they demonstrate that they don't, right? And then you get frustrated. But then you realize, people are people, and they're going to handle their brand, their personal brand, and they're going to navigate life the way they see fit. And I can't change that. What I can do is watch out for the signs later on with the next person, not penalize the next person for somebody else's stuff, but pay attention to signs and behaviors and patterns. You understand?
I do,
when you start to do that, then it doesn't matter whether you're in the film business. It doesn't matter what business you're in.
Yeah.
You're sitting down with people, and people have their own agendas, their own wants and needs, right? Their own backstory, their own trauma, attitude, you name it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you're dealing with. So once you put that into perspective, then you realize you can navigate
all different
industries.
Listen, ladies and gents, we got to learn a little bit more about his background and the lessons that he's learned along the way. Now we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're chatting all things Kings of Joburg, film, and all things creativity, which Samad has tapped into eloquently so in both the African continent and the US continent. Stay tuned. We'll see you straight after this. Now he's managed to give us some of the most exciting content that we are so proud of as South Africa and the rest of the African continent. He's back with us again, Samad Davis, ladies and gents. Woo, woo. Can you hear the audience? Now, what I'm saying is really what it is. You've pioneered the entertainment industry, and I use the word pioneer because you've done the cross-cultural, cross-continental bridge that we now get to marvel in and experience as people wanting to get into that space. What about you, or what inspired you to really create that bridge? Because, I mean, it's one of the people that you thought about it, and we see the manifestation of it now. But what inspired you to create that bridge?
Two things. First of all, I spoke about being a people's person.
Yeah.
I grew up I'm outside of the New Jersey, New York area. If you ask me where I'm from, I'm just going to say New York area. We call it the tri-state.
Yes.
Right? And in that tri-state, there's everybody. There's Indian, there's Russian, there's blacks, there's people from Africa, there's people from Haiti, there's people from Jamaica. It's a melting pot. And every day, you're dealing with all types of people. If you ever rode the subway in New York City, you'll understand. There's someone from all over the world on the subway with you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, life is about people, we're interacting. So I don't believe in tribalism. You see? So that's why I say I'm a Pan-African.
Yeah.
I'm African American, I've done my DNA, I'm from all over Africa due to slavery, plus some other stuff, right? I don't believe in tribalism, I believe in people. And I think as it relates to people of color, as we say in America, it's different than how you classify things. But anybody of any color is a person of color in America, right? So I just believe in people. I believe in, if you're talking about from a creative standpoint and telling stories, if my experience is not one type of people, why can't I tell stories that reflect life, right? So if I'm doing stuff just in America, from an African American experience, but I'm a person who travels, then that's not enough for me. I don't want to tell the same type of stories. It's just not enough for me because my world is not just stuck there. I get to meet different people from different places, and as I navigate that, I say, wow, that's a story, this interesting type of people. It expands your storytelling, your creativity, because you're meeting different people, different accents, different languages, different cultures. You can't go back to one thing, right? So I'll go back to my uncle, the same one that brought me to Africa.
Yes.
I want to say, and it was just me and him on a separate trip in Ghana.
Okay.
And we were waiting to get picked up to go somewhere, and the TV was on. And the TV was on. It was playing some music videos, right? Let me back up.
Okay.
I didn't go to Africa. It had nothing to do with film and TV.
Yes.
It was strictly part of another business that I'm involved in to this day. It had nothing to do with film and TV. But fast forward a year or so later, from my first time, 2 years later from the first trip that I took.
The 6 countries.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just me and my uncle in Ghana. And we were waiting to get picked up. The TV was on, and there was a bunch of music videos playing on the TV. But they were really, really bad music videos. It was like music videos from 20 years ago in America.
Okay.
And I made a comment. I said, wow, that's so bad. And he said, well, do something about it. He said, you're here enough. He said, I'm sure your brothers and sisters in Africa will appreciate you collaborating with them, bringing whatever skill sets that you have, expertise that you have to the table and help elevate. Wow. He said, you're here enough, so do something about it. He said, that's your background too, right?
Yes.
He said, so do something about it. He sparked that in me. And then I said, oh, wow, you're right. Because since the first trip, I was back and forth.
Yes.
It's not like I went the first time and then 2 years later I came back again.
Yes.
I was back and forth nonstop. But that sparked something into me because he said, do something about it, 1, collaborate, 2, you hear enough, 3, and it will be value add. Be value added is what he said at the end.
Yeah.
Be value added. And that stuck with me. and I carry that to this day. He passed away a few years ago,
I'm sorry
but I
to hear.
carry that to this day. So I don't get involved with anything that I'm not value added. And I think naturally, whatever I do, it of course, in the end, it'll benefit me somehow, you know.
Yeah.
But I get pleasure in seeing all of the people that I'm involved with benefit and elevate.
that.
So since then, I've done so much stuff in West Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, you name it. TV. I start off with music videos just to help elevate that industry, which I did.
Yeah.
And then I morphed into television, and I started doing TV series and unearthing talent series for actors,
Yeah.
and training actors in Ghana, Nigeria, and bringing them back to the U.S. I did all of that stuff, productions between the U.S., Nigeria, Ghana, and I started licensing content here in South Africa to Mnet, and you see, and it just kept going from there, more and more content. And then I start to look at, well, what projects I'm doing. In these projects, I would incorporate people from the U.S. with people from Africa.
Yes.
So I had a vision to make this Pan-African thing a real thing,
Yes.
because, again, it's small-minded to be stuck in tribalism, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When the world is not, especially as people of color, we just don't have the luxury to be stuck in a little isolated box. Each country, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It could, but not in the long run.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, we started to do that. You know, I would bring people from Hollywood directors, casting directors, movie stars, TV stars, and I would put them in projects and incorporate people from Ghana, Nigeria, and mix them. And that was an opportunity to show what's possible. You see?
Yeah.
And people would always say, "Well, why are you in Ghana? Why are you in Nigeria? Why Africa?" And I would say, "Well, why not?"
Why not? Yeah. And you say value add. There's one particular show that has been such a great, valuable space for actors to emerge from. Top Actor Africa.
Yes.
Which has groomed so many actors that we get to watch and celebrate today.
Yes.
Which again is value add.
It's value add.
Yeah.
I want to bring that series back. I'm going to bring it back.
Yes.
And put it out there. I'm
You
going
want to
to
tell them
back.
on camera that it's coming back?
It's going to come back. Don't ask me the particulars yet, but I'm going to make it happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
But Top Actor was a competitive acting reality show where we selected a cast of 12 aspiring actors, and we housed them and we challenged them on every aspect of acting. So they found themselves on action movie sets, romantic comedy or romance movies, from commercials to theater. So they found themselves in every genre of acting where they might be deployed as an actor, and we challenged them, and we gave them the tools along the way. And so for me, when I see a bunch of different people who've come from the ranks of those shows,
Yeah.
working and doing all kinds of stuff on Amazon, Netflix, and movies, and it's a great feeling. And that's
must be
what I mean by
proud.
be value
Yeah.
add.
You must be
it's
so
my
proud.
format.
Yeah.
Yes, I produced it. Yes. But the real reward is to see, I remember when this person auditioned for this show, and now they're on the red carpet here, and they're in that series there. And that's the beauty of it.
Oh man, I think that must be such a heartwarming experience to have to see that. Even the effect of this cross-continental, the effect of it, because it's happening in a ripple effect now.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And I think social media plays a big part. I think over the last 15 years, I've always shared nothing but positive images and video content. My experiences in Africa, if I had a bad experience, I never had a really bad experience, but I would never share that, because the minute you do, it's like, oh, see, told you.
Go.
You know, no matter how much goods you have, one little thing. So I don't share that. I only share positive stuff. So we've built schools in Africa. We've done all types of humanitarian efforts in Africa. Just ran the whole gamut, right? And for me, to see now what's happening energetically with people embracing Africa in a new way, is just beautiful to see. And what you also have, if I speak about Ghana or Nigeria, a lot of people went to the U.S. I grew up with a lot of Nigerians and Ghanaians.
Okay. Yeah.
But they would pretend to be African American because because Americans were very ignorant to people from Africa, right? So one of my best friends, Eric will always say, "I'll meet you outside. Don't come to the house, because if you go to the house, if his mother or father answers the phone, they might be not the phone, but answers the door.
Yeah.
They might be in traditional."
The culture would come out.
Yeah, but so it's so interesting to think about the psychological ramifications around that. But I grew up with so many people from Nigeria and Ghana, right? And because first generation, these are first generation Americans.
Yeah.
Because their parents wanted an education. They wanted to make sure that their kids had an education, right? So a lot of they call it the brain drain. So a lot of the talent from those countries went off to the UK, US, Canada to get educated.
Yeah.
And they never came back.
Okay.
So it was just the elders running the countries, right?
Yes.
And there's no real new energy and new technology but now what's happening in Ghana and Nigeria, if you go back now, you'll see the young people have come back. It's like, okay, I got my degree, I made a little bit of money, I'm going back. I'm opening up I'm doing real estate, I'm opening up restaurants, I'm opening up this, I'm opening up different stuff. And then you add the fact that countries like Ghana, I sound like I'm like promoting Ghana. The reason I'm saying these things is because Ghana and West Africa has a better relationship with, or more interaction with the U.S.
With the US, yes.
But South Africa's just now starting to travel, just now starting to get out there, right?
Yes.
So
and it's further down as well.
Yes,
south,
further down. So I didn't grow up knowing anybody from South Africa.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
But West Africans and East Africans as well. New York is, with Ethiopia, Sudan, Sudanese, you name it, right?
Yeah.
Egyptian. So you grew up with all these people. But my point was this. I'm using Ghana one more time because like the new administration has heavily promoted African Americans coming back to get citizenship, come back home, come back to Ghana. The year of return they had a whole marketing push around that, right? And then you add the music festivals that they do, and then you add Black Panther, right? And then you add just all the different energy and positive stuff around being Africa and being of African descent has made people proud and take a new look at Africa. Like, okay, wait a minute. So you have a lot of African Americans now very much interested in getting involved in all things Africa, which is a good thing.
It is, yeah.
And I think the spark and the beauty is when the diaspora figures out how to unite and how to work together. So if I move into this region, and I'll say, okay, if you see tribalism, right? People in South Africa say, oh, we don't like this people, these people from here, or these people from there come. If you go to another country, they'll say the same thing about other people coming into their country. Everybody's saying the same thing, right? And everybody's having a sense of tribalism. But when you think about it, your network is your net worth.
That's right.
So when you start to actually say, okay, forget about the politics and forget about the tribalism stuff. Let me actually share a meal with you. Let me get to know you. We share the same sensibilities.
Yes.
Your daughter does this. My daughter does the same thing too. Or my son does the same thing. You find the commonalities. You find certain things that you like, right?
Yeah.
And then you can figure out, okay, maybe, oh, you know what? I'm starting a coffee business in South Africa. A South African might say, oh, I'm from Ethiopia. I have a connection with, we grow the best coffee, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you start to think about ways to work together and do business and feed your families and build communities. So I think tribalism stops us. It limits us. And the only way to get out of that is to, one, travel a little bit. And if you can't travel, that's fine, because not everybody can travel.
Yeah.
But even if it's traveling from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood, or the buddy or sister friend you have at work who's from a different culture, besides going to work and doing your work stuff together, maybe share a meal on the weekend. Maybe invite your kids to their kid's birthday party and understand each other better and figure out new opportunities, because the world is global. The only difference in the world right now is what time do you wake up, right? If you turn on whatever's the news of the day, you wake up, that's when you're going to see it. Kanye West did this.
Yeah.
Kardashian did that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Russia did this. Whatever the case may be, whatever time you wake up is when you're going to get it.
Yeah.
But we're all connected. So if there's a war going on in Russia and Ukraine, then the cost of wheat is going up across the world. Right? Because Ukraine is the #1 wheat supplier.
Yeah.
But now everybody's suffering from wheat prices.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or the cost of this and fuel is going up because of the war across the world. So everybody's connected one way or another.
Yeah, and I think also COVID showed us that we actually are, universal, more than we know, more than we think.
Yes. So if you think about COVID, as terrible as it was, and rest in peace to all the people who lost their lives in that during the pandemic. You understand that people's view from a film and TV standpoint, content creation standpoint, it changed globally people's viewing habits. It actually increased the business tenfold. It's been more busier than ever.
Yeah.
Because for a year or two, content wasn't being produced. All the big companies had to figure out how to produce stuff. People are sitting at home chowing right through every series, every movie that's available. Binging.
Yeah.
And so there was just not enough content. So when things opened back up, it's like, okay, we need more content. So that economy, that industry just boomed.
Yeah.
Okay, but people's viewing habits changed. No, people is not interested in watching, waiting next week for the next episode. People don't really want to sit through a bunch of commercials either. Adverts, as you would say.
Yeah.
People don't want to do that. But people are also interested in content from other countries because they chow through all the content that they would watch. So then they watch an Italian series and they reading the subtitles. They're watching a Korean series. Well, there's what was that movie? A series.
A Crash Landing on You. Not that one.
What's the one? The one in Korea. The game.
Oh, not Hunger Games.
The violent one.
Yes, I know exactly what you're
That one.
Yes.
People are watching all of this stuff. And guess what? They're reading the subtitles, they're open to new cultures, and they're finding the fact that, wait a minute, we're all the same. It's just the cultures and the languages might change, but if I like this character and I like this story, I like it.
Yeah.
And so that's also been a benefit. And that's also helped content coming out of Africa as well. And that's making people in the U.S. and other Western countries say, wait a minute, okay, I like, they're watching content that's created.
Yeah.
So it's no longer making content that only Africans can appreciate. So it goes into my model where I can say, I can just tell a story. I can tell a good story and I can take actors from the U.S., from Nigeria to South Africa, Kenya, whomever, and I can tell a good story and people will watch it.
Yeah. Which is what you did with Kings of Joburg.
Yeah, what we did. I like to say we.
Yes.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
What the entire team did,
Yes.
which, I mean, it went on to win the Hopper, 3 Hopper Awards.
Yeah.
At the Hollywood and African Prestigious Awards.
Yes.
How did your involvement come about with Kings of Joburg? When did you be part of the process?
Easy story. Well, interesting story. Well, I was friends with Connie Ferguson first via social media. You know, I see what she's doing, she sees what I'm doing. And then when I was in South Africa, he said, okay, we definitely need to meet and sit down. And so me, her, and Shona, God rest his soul, had dinner. And we just hit it off. And we just like, okay, so what can we do together? What could we do together, make some magic? And at that point, he had this concept of Kings of Joburg. Him and Connie, they funded the pilot. And he said, well, you know, I have this project called Kings of Joburg. And I said, well, let me take a look at it. If it's good, we can make it happen. You know, my company, I have a company here with my partners Dumi Gumi and Kati Wianik, and we have a deal with Netflix already. Yeah. And I knew if it was something good, we could position this thing and make it and do the whole series. And he sent it to me that night, and I was like, hey,
That's it.
We in business, you know. And we just decided to form a partnership for Kings of Joburg and bring it to life.
Yeah.
So we did the first season, and then we were, and we didn't know what we had, you know. We just, you know, it was a labor of love.
Yes.
And it wound up being a very successful show for Netflix, and then naturally it was like, okay, it's worthy of a new season. And so we developed the second season, and unfortunately our brother passed away.
Yeah.
And then we had to go back. Well, we had to decide if we were even going to go forward with it or not. You know, healing had to happen, things had to get sorted out. And me and Connie had a conversation, and it was just like, you know, he would love us to continue this legacy, you know?
Yeah.
So we restructured, had to sit down and recreate the story. And then we just, all systems go. Netflix was very supportive in saying that, you know, if we want to move forward with it, they're behind us. And we all just felt like cast, crew, that, you know, let's do it for him. Let's do the second season. Let's make him proud, and let's give the fans what they want as well. And there you have it.
And the fans have just been so excited to see season 2. The reception, audiences globally loving it. It's rating on the universal charts at Netflix. What does that experience feel like?
It's a really, really interesting but good experience because where I came from, I told you, I started off from film school, VHS, introduction of DVD, introduction of digital cameras, introduction to when streaming started.
Yeah.
And then, we used to do content and we had to put it in cinemas, right?
Yes.
And we had to do market by market promotion, right? You do this city, you do that city, you do this country, now you're doing that country. And right? So now this is the first time. And I think from a content creator standpoint, I don't use the word filmmaker.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why after I make this point. But from a content creator, producer standpoint, for us to be able to create something, and then for it to be able to be announced or have a countdown on a global stage that the entire world can see at the same time. And you can just use social media to say, you can drive social media. Yes, there's billboards and stuff across South Africa, but you can talk to an audience everywhere and just feed them to an end result, to sit down and watch something at the same time. With basically you're using one bullet to cover the world.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
And this is a first. And so that's just a first. You know, and it's also an honor to come from film school, come through that journey, work with a fantastic company like Netflix, who are great partners, they're very supportive. Just to be able to see the love and the energy that we put into a project like this that is produced in South Africa with South African leads and talent, with some other actors from Nigeria and the U.S. as well, and just to get the massive push, and then be able to see it globally at one time. And you can go to certain places like, oh, I know this show. You can go different countries. I know that show. You can go to the U.S. Yeah, I like that show.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
That is a great feeling. It really is.
And I mean, even getting to see how people are not only on social media but in conversation amongst themselves, it's creating a different idea of what Africa even looks like, what Africa is, from people from all of the other countries that they get to experience it from. You shared that you don't want to say you're a filmmaker, but rather a content creator.
Correct.
Please explain
a content producer. Because, you see, I go back to the story I told you in film school. Because I was already a business person and a natural producer, I was the only one to finish my project.
Yeah.
The filmmakers couldn't, because they are just creative. They're not thinking of the business of nuts and bolts and how to put this together and how to strike a deal and will and deal. They're not thinking of that. So the average filmmaker and this is no disrespect to the filmmaker. If they are a filmmaker, fine. But if they're able to think differently or have a partner within their circle who wears this hat that I'm going to explain to you, then that's good.
Okay.
This is a business. It's the film, TV business. You can be creative all you want. As a grown person, if you're in this business, then you have to figure out how to conduct business within it. Business is associated with making some money from it, so that people get paid. Your crew, your talent, people get paid. You yourself get paid as a livelihood, right?
Yeah.
It produces an end result that goes to the market where it can be consumed by a consumer, okay? And then you put yourself in a position to go to the next one. Okay?
Yes.
That is part being in the business. You figure out how to successfully make sure the plane lands nicely, everybody's happy. You put yourself in a position to go to the next project, land the plane, go to the next project. That's sustainable, that's a career, that is business. If you're a filmmaker, mindset-wise, then your biggest priority is to tell this story that you love so much, you think the world wants to see, and maybe they do. But in the process, you are burning bridges all along the way. You're rubbing people the wrong way. You're using people to get to one step. You're burning them. Then you end up maybe finding an investor to put some money up. The project, you do the project. You still owe so many different people along the way. They're all mad at you because you didn't treat them right. And then the project comes out. It doesn't make any money, or it may not come out because you didn't position it properly. You didn't cut the right deal for it. Right? Now your investors are mad because they gave you money. The film didn't make any money. It didn't even get out anywhere. And you're happy because you get to go to the film festival, Joburg Film Festival, the Sundance Film Festival, Cannes. You're more excited about that.
Yeah.
You don't care that you burnt everybody along the way. You don't care that you didn't make the money back. You didn't care about the business around it. So you get the opportunity to do one film, but you don't do the next one. You see?
Yeah.
Because you care about what you care about, and you don't care, you're not thinking about the business. So that's why if you don't have that mindset, or somebody next to you who understands that, where you can just be creative and let them be the good cop, bad cop, and cut the deals and make sure that everybody's happy. So words matter. So if you say I'm a filmmaker, then you're just stuck in creative. Again, no disrespect, but if you're just that, then find somebody who's the opposite that can stand with you, because this is a business and it has to be, all businesses must grow, right? And you must do people right along the way to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no one wants to work with you again. And that's the thing people forget. They get so blindsided about an opportunity, or they have some level of success, and they just treat people all messed up, and they forget that this is just one thing. It's a moment in time. Great. If you're very successful in that moment, great. You need to be successful in the next, and you need people every step of the way.
Yeah.
You need to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm working on this. Oh yeah, okay, sure, I'll do it for you. I want to work with you. You don't want the scenario where your name pops up and they say, oh no. And they got horror story after horror story of how you did this person wrong, that person wrong. You still owe them this, and you still owe that one that. That's typically what happens. And that's why I say I definitely don't want to be affiliated with that. And also, as different circles that you move into, if you're trying to raise money or you're networking, it's a different level of curiosity, different level of respect when someone introduces you as this person's a content producer. Oh, really? Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Right? It opens up curiosity and interest, right? Whereby if you say, she's a filmmaker, oh, that's cute, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
She loves shooting videos around the house. You see?
Yes.
So for me, just because I think as an entrepreneur, for me, I can't use filmmaker.
Okay.
It doesn't benefit me.
Yeah.
Especially while you have filmmakers burning bridges and doing all kinds of stupid stuff. Why would I want to say I'm in the space, I'm a filmmaker? But that's just me. But I'm saying that should be a mindset shift with people who just classify themselves as filmmakers. If you want to be in this business and you want to have a career and you want to provide for your family and you want to go from one project to the next project to the next project, you can't do that under the brand of a filmmaker in this day and age.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially as a person of color.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
It feels like a masterclass, this entire conversation. I don't know if everyone at home who's watching has been learning, and I'm hoping that filmmakers, people in the business are going to watch this and get to take these nuggets that you're sharing with us.
I hope so. I mean, that's the whole idea. You want to pay it forward. You want people to... Look, we don't have much time. I mean, we have the time we have on this earth, right? Life is serious. It's a serious day and time we live in. And life is precious. So if you're going to do something, put your energy into it. You should know what you're doing. Remember when I said, I went to film school to learn the rules of engagement. I didn't just say, oh, I'm going to try to make some content. I learned first, so I know what to do and how to do it professionally, right?
Yeah.
I needed to do that. So I think that's the other thing. I don't care if you don't go to film school. Some people are just naturally talented. Some people, the University of YouTube is amazing.
Yeah.
You can learn anything on there.
Yeah.
But whatever way you go about it, just do it, understand what you're doing, but then actually brand yourself. It will change how you interact with people. It will change how people interact with you based on how you classify yourself.
Okay.
That's just what it is, because you are in the people's business. And once people understand I'm in the business of people, again, it doesn't matter the sector. You're in the business of people and perception.
Yes.
And how you introduce yourself and how you handle your brand while you have an opportunity, because your name gets in the room before you get in the room. Okay? So the worst thing you can say is somebody brings up your name and they just say, oh my God. You say, what happened? They just say, say no more. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and I'm sure our audiences at home, after watching this, they'll think about Samart Davis and think, information, insight, having learned from this conversation. Shortly before we say goodbye, what legacy do you want to leave behind when it's all said and done and we're thinking about your legacy?
Just how many people I helped along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, just the jobs I've created, the careers I've launched, the words of advice I've given people to just go. For me, that's the legacy. I mean, it's really paying it forward. Did you help someone else? Did you teach somebody else how to fish?
Yeah.
You can give somebody a piece of fish they can eat for a day. You have heard that saying?
Yes, I have.
Or you can teach them how to fish and they can eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So I take pride in that, teaching people how to fish and helping people be in a position. And that's it.
Wow. Samart, look to camera. Tell the people why they should go and check out Kings of Joburg Season 2.
You should check out Kings of Joburg Season 2 because it's a dedication to our dear brother, Shona Ferguson. It is a dedication to Africa. It's a dedication to Pan-Africanism. It's a dedication to the arts in general. It's a labor of love. It's highly entertaining. It's just good content. It's good to see. It's just you'll be honored to say, wow, that came out of Africa.
Yeah.
And so many people behind the scenes. Yes, I'm African American, but I collaborate. I mean, it's just a melting pot of talent from South Africa to Nigeria to the U.S. And I just think that's my goal, Pan-Africanism.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I say Pan-Africanism, the Rainbow Nation included, it's just that, hey, I don't believe in tribalism anymore.
Yes,
I believe in my tribe consists of people who I like their energy and their aura, and I like to work with them again. That's how I built my tribe, and I just think it was just a labor of love that's highly entertaining.
So go check it out.
I think you should check it out. It's streaming right now on Netflix. Globally. It's 8 episodes. First season was 6. This season is 8.
Giving us more.
And it's entertaining, man. Just enjoy yourself.
Thank you so much, Samad. I might say that from the industry, from the continent, we appreciate you so, so much.
Thank you.
We love it and are so grateful for the work that you have done for us and paved the way. So thank you so much, and thank you for your time today to come and join us on the show. Ladies and gents, the one and only Samad Smanga. The Davids who join us on this episode of the Vuyo Joboda Show, where I get to sit down with inspiring leaders from all around the world. My name is Vuyo Joboda, and of course, you are tuned in right here on VN. Until next time, from myself and Samad, it is goodbye and God bless. Cheers for now.